Hey guys, it's Shade here, back to bring you another video in Borderlands 3. If you like the video, please drop a like, and if you want to see more future content, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified for my future videos. I know that it's been a while since my last upload, but I was waiting until Guardian ranks were fixed in order to make some more build videos for other characters. If you want me to start covering guns or things like that, and you know what guns would be best on which characters, I can absolutely start making content like that. Just let me know in the comments down below. So anyway, let's get into the video. In today's video, we're going to be going over my frozen flak build. This build is tailor-made for Mayhem 4 content, especially the Maliwan Takedown. This build will absolutely allow you to solo Maliwan Takedown as well as play with other people and really kind of have a lot of fun with this build. So we're going to go all the way down the Hunter tree. In my opinion, the Hunter tree is the best tree for flak for damage. So we're going to start by taking 2 into Interplanetary Stalker. We're really only taking this because we're going to take 3 and leave no trace just for that extra ammo regen. But we're taking this just to get to the next level. It is a very good skill, however, as it's a kill skill, it's less active than other ones because of the class mod we're going to be using. So we're going to go ahead and take 3 and leave no trace for that ammo regen on critical hits. We're going to take 5 into Hunter's Eye for the extra bonuses towards for crit hit damage towards humans and armor damage versus robots. Damage reduction versus beasts is nice as well, but we're rarely fighting beasts. So we're going to take 3 into head count. So whenever flak scores a critical hit, there's a chance their action skill cooldown is reduced. This is going to allow us to keep our action skill up 100% of the time, which will allow us to keep all of our damage up 100% of the time. We're going to take 5 out of 5 in Two Fang. This is going to give us a ton of extra damage, and you'll see just how much once we get into the build. We're going to take 3 out of 3 in Most Dangerous Game, as well as 3 out of 3 in Big Game. All Hunter skills have much more effect and longer duration, so all effects are increased by 30% and 100%. This is one of their best skills in my opinion. And then this one is also an amazing skill, which once you kill a badass or stronger enemy, you gain a ton of extra crit hit damage, gun damage, and so on and so forth. This is a very, very good skill. We're going to take 1 out of 1 in Galactic Shadow, which allows us to get more crit hit damage and make enemies less likely to attack them. And then we're going to take 1 out of 1 in Megavore for increased crit hit chance. The next tree we're going to go down is we're going to go down the Stalker skill tree. We're basically going to get down to the Unblinking Eye and then stop in this tree. So we're going to start off by taking 5 out of 5 in Self-Repairing System, allowing us to get more health regen and max health. We're going to take 5 out of 5 in Furious Attack just for more gun damage and flat pet damage and handling and stuff like that. We're going to take 1 out of 5 in Eager to Impress. This is just going to allow us to get a little bit more cooldown reduction, which is nice. We're going to take 1 out of 1 in Lick the Wounds to allow our pet to revive us. We're going to take 3 out of 3 in Turn Tail and Run, which will allow us to get more damage, gun damage when we're still, and more fire rate as well. And then if we are moving, we get more health regen and damage reduction, which is exactly how we need it. Basically, whenever you're stopped with this build, you're going to be invisible and doing a ton of damage. And whenever you're moving, you're wanting to stay alive as quickly as possible, or as much as possible. We're going to be taking 3 out of 3 in the Fast and the Furriest, I guess. Yeah, Furriest. While above half health, we're going to be dealing a ton of extra gun damage and get more movement speed. So basically, this kind of plays into that same thing as Turn Tail and Run, where once we get to above that half health, we're going to get more movement speed, which allows us to stay alive longer. It's just a really good skill overall. We're going to take 2 out of 5 into Hidden Machine just to get to on Blinking Eye. This is going to give us good flat damage while we're invisible. And then the last 2 skill points you can really spend wherever you want. However, in my opinion, for the build, the best place to spend it is in Persistence Hunter. I accidentally took one for Go for the Eyes, but you're going to spend both of these in Persistence Hunter. Basically, what this is going to do is it gives you 4% gun damage as opposed to the 6% you get here. However, you also get more action skill duration here, which is extremely beneficial since we're going to be taking Fade Away. Speaking of that, for the skills we're going to take, we're going to be taking Fade Away, we're going to be taking Until You're Dead, and we're going to be taking Unblinking Eye. So the reason why we're not taking Gorillas in the Mist is that we actually want to be in Fade Away for the longest possible time, which 15 seconds is going to allow us to stay quite a bit. Gorillas in the Mist is great for everything aside from the raid content. However, once we start talking about Maliwan Takedown, you don't want to be using Gorillas in the Mist because the longer you're invisible, the less damage you'll be taking, and you'll be able to get yourself back to full health. Until You're Dead will allow you to keep your health regen and movement speed until you, basically the entire time. Once you get out of Fade Away, you're going to almost instantly be getting back into Fade Away. So Until You're Dead allows you to keep all of those bonuses. Unblinking Eye is going to give us more critical hit damage on that person for every 3 hits. So since we only get 3 hits, that Unblinking Eye is going to be amazing. And since the way that the mechanics work for this and for the anointments we're going to be using on our weapons and gear, this is actually going to allow us to benefit immensely from it. Finally, we're going to be taking the Spider Ant Scorcher as our pet, and that's going to allow us to get extra elemental damage as well as health regen. Now we're going to be going over the guns. So to start, I am going to be using a Queen's Call with on action skill, weapon damage increased by 100% for a short time. This gun is really good, and that anointment is going to be very good on every gun because of multiple different reasons, which I will go over once we have talked about all the gear. But in particular, you're going to want to find gear that gives you weapon damage increase by 100% for a short time. For Lucian's Call, or for the second gear we're going to be taking is Lucian's Call with the same anointment. We're going to be taking Cryo just because that is kind of what this build is focusing on. We're also going to be taking the Redundant Brainstormer. This is the one piece of gear that I would recommend you getting this anointment on instead. On action skill end, the next 2 magazines will have 50% additional bonus cryo damage. The reason behind this is because of the mechanics of cryo damage, as well as the anointment we're taking on our shield or grenade, depending on what you're running. Basically, you're going to want to get as much cryo damage as possible, which will allow you to freeze enemies as quickly as possible with this Brainstormer, and that will keep you from taking damage. That will allow you to do more damage to them using Icebreaker, and then you can basically abuse the Brainstormer's effect and kind of get ridiculous amounts of damage off on wide groups of enemies. Finally, we're going to be taking the Recursion with the increased weapon damage. So the Recursion is great for bosses in particular, but primarily what you're going to be using is the Brainstormer and the Queen's Call. Those 2 guns are vitally important for this build, whereas the Recursion can be replaced with other things if you don't want to use it, especially now that it's gotten a nerf. We're going to be taking the Transformer with the 50% bonus cryo damage with weapons. This coupled with that anointment on the Brainstormer is going to freeze enemies very, very, very quickly. You're going to be getting over 100% additional cryo damage. So all the damage that you deal with your Brainstormer normally will be increased and then converted to cryo. So you're basically dealing double damage, a little bit over double damage, and the extra damage you're dealing is all cryo with these two. And that'll allow you to freeze people very, very rapidly and do a ton of damage. The next thing we're going to be taking is we're going to be taking a grenade with the action skill end, gain 50% bonus radiation damage. So this does not have to be a recurring hex. The recurring hex, in my opinion, is the best grenade in the game, but it is not the one that you absolutely have to take. You can use any grenade with this build. Really, grenades aren't a crux of this build, so this is the least important piece. As long as you have an anointment that gives you extra elemental damage. So the reason why we're taking these two extra elemental damage in particular is because there's actually a mechanic with this game right now where if you have a gun that spawns additional projectiles, like the Queen's Call, for example. So when I get a headshot with the Queen's Call, you get 3 bullets that ricochet and then come back on the enemy that you hit. So if you have an additional element that you're dealing, you actually double the amount of ricochet bullets you get. So for every element you get 3 more increased, or 3 more ricochet bullets. So with this one gun and then these 2, we are actually going to be getting 9 bullets every time we crit. That is the reason why I say do not take these extra elements on your gun, however, because as opposed to getting 3 more bullets, you can get 100% more damage on all of the bullets you already have, which is much more beneficial. So if you're not going to be running these anointments, I would recommend get an element on your Queen's Call. However, if you are going to run a shield and a grenade with these anointments, then go ahead and use the weapon damage increase by 100% instead. A quick note to get the transformer, I actually have another video posting a very, very quick and easy way to farm for a transformer, in particular on PC. So if you want to check that out, definitely go check it out. It'll allow you to get this really quickly. So the only thing you'll have to look for is this grenade. Next, the class mod we're going to be using. This is going to be a very difficult class mod to get your hands on. This one I actually got from a friend who found it on a YouTube channel, which I will be linking in the description below. I believe the channel was called The Quan, and he had a bunch of different saves for a bunch of different like flat gear that my friend Psychotic Wolf found. So I want to give a huge shout out to Wolf for that, because this thing really tied the build together. Getting an additional projectile on something like the Queen's Call just gives you a ridiculous amount of extra damage. So this particular build was having a very hard problem with single target damage, and I think every build in particular is having that issue. Amara can deal with it because of the sheer amount of damage she can get from running fast. Same kind of goes for Zane, and then Mose can kind of get around it just by the sheer fact that she has so much survivability. But Fl4k has no survivability and really, really needs that extra single target damage in order to do enough damage to Wotan to kill him. So this class mod really ties it all together, making this build amazing. This is probably the most fun I've had with a build since probably the day the driver came out, and after that I got really tired of using the driver. So this is a really, really fun build. I enjoy it a lot. So you want to get a Deadeye that gives you as much into Two-Fang as possible. I do recognize that it's going to be very, very hard for you console players to find a +5. But for you guys on PC, this save file will be on my Discord, so you can easily get this class mod. This is definitely the best class mod in my opinion for this build. Finally, we're going to go over the relic that I use like 99% of the time. With this gear loadout, you can take out Wotan solo without a problem. There are things that you can do to make it easier, and I can go over that in a second, but this is what you want to be looking for. So you want an Icebreaker Victory Rush. This is going to give you a lot of extra damage when you kill another badass, as well as movement speed, which is very, very important in this raid. Moving fast allows you to stay out of damage. So the fact that things are staying alive longer in Mayhem 4 because of the extra health and shields that they get really, really makes it so that you have to avoid as much damage as possible. So having that extra movement speed is amazing. So this will give us extra cryo damage and cryo efficiency as on top of the Icebreaker itself giving us bonus damage to frozen enemies and more bonus cryo efficiency. So this artifact will allow us to really freeze people very, very quickly and then deal more damage on top of that. So this is a must-have for every portion of the fight for Maliwan Takedown except for the boss fights. So finally, what we're going to go into is some of the extra gear to make those boss fights just a little bit easier, as well as some of the mobbing stuff to make it a little bit simpler. So first things first is you almost always want to have that extra cryo damage. So whatever shield you have for the boss fights that gives you corrosive damage, whether it be a transformer or the stopgap. The stopgap, I think, makes that fight a lot easier, makes you have more survivability, and allows you to stay out of damage. And then allows you to go have enough time to go back into invisibility. So really, the stopgap is very, very beneficial. It allows you to rebuild your shields while you're invisible, and then you can basically stay immune to damage for the most part. So as long as you have that extra corrosive damage for boss fights, that's going to help out a lot. You don't need it, but it is definitely more beneficial. But as long as if you do take that corrosive damage over the radiation damage, make sure whatever other anointment you have on your shield or grenade gives you cryo damage. That's still going to tie that Icebreaker together, allowing you to do more damage. However, if you don't want to do that during boss fights, the other option you have here is you can use Flash Melter Victory Rush. In my opinion, I would still stick with the extra cryo damage and then just add this Flesh Melter onto it, switch over your recursion to a corrosive, and then just start trying to kill as many things as possible with that recursion, allowing you to really stack up the Flesh Melter bonuses, and it'll allow you to do a ton of damage to Wotan very, very quickly. Other weapons to keep in mind you can use are the Maggie. Maggie does a lot of single target damage. It's very good to replace the Lucian Call with the Maggie sometimes. It really helps out. But keeping that in mind, you're going to be running 2 pistols and 2 shotguns, so you are going to be ammo hungry to an extent. The other option is the Rowan's Call instead of the Lucian's Call. I honestly prefer the Rowan's Call, but I can see the benefits of Lucian's Call just as far as the fire rate and allowing you to get your action skill back quicker on a single target. Either continuing to use the Brainstormer for that, or switching to the Lucian's Call can help, just because you're going to be doing a lot of extra crits. So keep that in mind. Using another gun on a single target to get your action skill can sometimes be more beneficial. And the other 2 guns I would definitely look at keeping in your backpack at all times are the Cutsman. This is the best gun in the game in my opinion right now. This is the best single target damage gun across all classes. So I would keep a shock and a corrosive one on hand at least. If you can get a fire one with that bonus weapon damage, I would check that out as well. But I would at least keep the shock and corrosive one on hand. So that's going to do it for the gear. I'm going to leave you guys with some gameplay of me clearing various content in the Maliwan Takedown on Mayhem 4, True Vault Hunter mode. So enjoy that, guys, and thank you so much. Okay guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you liked the video, please leave a like, and if you have any comments or suggestions for what I can do to improve or what you want to see next, leave it down in the comments below. I do read and reply to every comment and really appreciate your support. I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/shadegaming if you want to hang out while I make some more Borderlands content or play other various games. You can also follow the link in the description to join my Discord, where you can trade with other Vault Hunters and where I announce other events like giveaways. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.